From the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is the evolution of Lord Chaitanya, beginning with verse number 3. Of course, verse number 1 speaks about the spiritual master. And because as we just read, Srila Prabhupada emphasized again and again, one must be connected to the Sankirtan movement. That means by chanting, hearing and chanting, taking prasadam, of course, taking prasadam is not the difficult part. The difficult part is the hearing and chanting. Because we always find time to take prasadam, but we don't always find time to chant and hear properly. So, of course, Srila Prabhupada, when he spoke this was very early in the movement, so he was just encouraging people just hear and chant. But he also said that devotional service is difficult. It's difficult because of our conditioning. Not that it is difficult, it's easy to perform. In other songs, he said, this process is so easy. Because it is. You just chant, you dance, take prasadam, understand what you've been hearing and chanting. So I wanted to take advantage of this. Srila Prabhupada in Mayapur, I was fortunate to be there. He read this verse, and then he said, who knows this verse? And only 2 devotees raised their hand. Prabhupada said, everyone who has second initiation must know this verse. So I'll read the verse, see how many of us know it. I've kind of forgotten it over the years. Nadadvaitam Prabhupanishadi. No, just how many know it? So this is a very important verse that says, Yadadvaitam, that oneness, Brahma Upadi Upanishad, that is taught by all the Upanishads, Rapyasya Tanuba, which is Tanuba, the effulgence coming from his body. Then, Ya Atma Taryami Purusha Ichsosham Sha Vibhava. Then higher than that is Antaryami, super soul within the heart. Then he goes, Sad Aishvaryai. This is building up to where we understand Lord Chaitanya. Shad Aishvaryai Purno Ya Iha Bhagavan Sasvayamayam. That not only that, but all the 6 opulences that you find within the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they're also there in Lord Chaitanya. Otherwise, don't think that just because he's dancing and chanting, no, everything is there. And therefore, Na Chaitanya Krishna Jagati, that not that this Lord Chaitanya, who is the same Krishna within this material world, is anything less than Param Satyam. He's nothing less. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then the next verse, which Krishnadas Kaviraj introduces Chaitanya Charitamrita, famous verse. Anarpita chirim chirat gunaya vantiro kalau samarpaitum unato jvalam rasam svabhakti shriyam. So he says, this avatar has never been seen before, meaning that Lord Chaitanya only appears when Krishna appears. Not seen before means within this yuga, this avatar wasn't there. He wasn't there in previous yuga. He's only there when Krishna appears. But it's been such a long time, he says, nobody's seen him. And why has nobody seen him? Because he's Chana Avatar, as Prahlad Maharaj says. He is the hidden avatar. Only his devotees can discover him. If you're not a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, you can't understand Radha and Krishna. People nowadays, even in other sampradayas, they have a hard time understanding Radha and Krishna. So he says, this time Hari Purita Sundara Jyoti. He has come in a beautiful golden color, Kadambas and Dipita. And he is so beautiful, just like the Kadamba flower, expanding everywhere, expanding his beauty everywhere. Then Sada Vidhaya Pandare. Where will you find him? You'll find him deeply in the recesses of your heart. That's where you'll find him. You can't find him. It's Puratu. He will appear there. Vasachinandana, the son of Sachinanda. So this means that he has come to start the Sankirtan movement. Unato Jwalam Rasa Swabhakti Shriyam. The treasure house of Bhakti is this spreading of pure Krishna consciousness done by Lord Chaitanya, who is Karun Avatar. Then Krishnadas Kaviraj explains, I'll just read the translation. The loving affairs of Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency. Adini Shakti. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, previously they separated themselves. Well, this is very important. So otherwise, Radha and Krishna are one, meaning Lord Chaitanya, but they also are eternally separated. So here, of course, Krishnadas Kaviraj is in the mood of Lord Chaitanya, so he mentions Lord Chaitanya first. They are one in Chaitanya. Now they have separated themselves. Now these two transcendental identities have again united in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. I bow down to him who has manifested himself with the sentiment and complexion of Shri Mati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself. So, now that he has become Lord Chaitanya, so it began by saying, who is Lord Chaitanya? He is that person who contains Brahman, who contains Paramatma, who contains Krishna within himself. He is Krishna himself. Then he was previously one, then he became two, and now he has become one again. And now it says, why did he come? Shiradhaya Panaya Mahima Kidrisha. He came to experience the love of Srimati Radha. This is why Lord Chaitanya appeared. Not to save the fallen souls. That's additional. Because this explains why the saving of the fallen souls is dependent upon this internal main reason why Lord Chaitanya comes. Because he has come to understand the sweetness that exists within that love of Srimati Radharani. And then what happens? Va Madhya Sokyam Chasya. Sokyam Chasya Mar Anubhavata Kitrisha. What happened then? He wants to taste the sweetness that comes from the love of Srimati Radha. He wants to understand the sweetness, and then he wants to taste the sweetness. Pratilobhat tad bhavabdya samajani. And to do that, he takes birth in the womb of Srimati Sachidevi. So these are the three reasons why Lord Chaitanya appears. Taste the love of Radharani, to understand the sweetness of the love of Radharani, and to taste the sweetness of that love. And then, because of that, because of that. That sweetness, which is called Madhurya Ras, when it expands, it becomes Audarya Ras. Otherwise, when the sweetness becomes so intense, it overflows and it becomes Audarya or mercy, but a special mercy, not ordinary mercy. The special mercy is that Lord Chaitanya is able to give it to others. And this is why Srila Prabhupada says in that long explanation he gave that that it's difficult to understand Lord Chaitanya, because one time he said it's very difficult to understand Radha and Krishna, and it's even more difficult to understand Lord Chaitanya. Although he gives us a possibility to understand things easily, but without his mercy, you cannot understand. Therefore, understanding him is even more difficult than understanding Radha. So I wanted to go from there to Lord Chaitanya's appearance, so we can understand why did he appear. He appeared to give this mercy, and that mercy comes only from understanding Lord Chaitanya. Now, in the beginning of Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vrindavan Das Thakur, he explained that Kali Yuga has been accelerated in this age, because to show the contrast between Lord Chaitanya's, otherwise to show how much mercy is there, Kali Yuga became very, very quickly accelerated. Normally, this amount of Kali, this would be only present after maybe 100,000 years. We're put right up into these very, very elevated degradation. And that way we can see how merciful Lord Chaitanya is. That's how he begins it. And then it says, just to read a few verses. Kali Yuga Dharma Hoy Hari Sankirtan Etadarte Avatirya Sri Sachinandana. The religious principle for the age of Kali is the congregational chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Sri Sachinandan incarnates to establish this principle. Kali Yuga, the Lord incarnates with his associates in order to maintain the religious principle of Sankirtan. And this, of course, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says, Kali Kalera Dharmas Krishna Nama Sankirtan. That the Dharma for this age is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. But Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tara Pravartana. But to understand the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, you have to get the mercy of Krishna. And then he sent all of his associates ahead, just as he did when he appeared as Krishna. He sends his, Jagannath Mishra, Sachidanand. Of course, Jagannath Mishra is Nanda Maharaj, and Sachi Devi is Yashoda Mai. And then all of his associates began to appear. And then it says that Lord Chaitanya sent many people to take birth in places where there is no auspiciousness. because he wanted to create auspiciousness for everyone by his associates appearing in those places. They became holy places. It says, in whatever place or family a Vaishnava appears, people for hundreds of thousands of miles around are all delivered. That's why he sent his associates. So that's pretty much covers the globe, right? Enough pure devotees appear, unless you have a linear and you go to another planet. They all met in Navadvip, and of course to wait for Lord Chaitanya's appearance. And then it tells about how degraded everyone is in Navadvip. Only the most pious people would recite the names of Pundarikaksha or Govinda at the time of taking bath. Or if they explained Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, they would not mention anything about devotional service. That's how impious they were. On hearing Advaita Prabhu's cries of love, the Lord personally appeared, for he is controlled by the love of his devotees. Therefore, Advaita Acharya is the best of all the Vaishnavas. There is no comparison. So it says again and again that the main reason for the Lord appearing, other than his personal desires, was the call of Advaita. But then Advaita was always desirous that he would be the servant of Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya wouldn't allow it. Every time they did a kirtan, Advaita would try to grab Lord Chaitanya's feet, but Lord Chaitanya wouldn't let him. And one time, then Lord Chaitanya fainted in ecstasy, and he ran over, and he, with tears, he bathed the feet of Lord Chaitanya, and then he rubbed them with his hair to clean them off. And then Lord Chaitanya woke up and he said, someone has stolen my devotion. Someone has taken away my devotion. Who is that? And Advaita said, my Lord, you're independent. You can do anything. You don't depend on me. You can do anything. You know, if you don't want to give your mercy, that's all right. And he said, I am just a cowherd boy looking for Vrindavan. And he said, why do you want to deprive me? I have come in this age to try to understand what I could not understand before, and you are not allowing me to do so. So they began to argue. And then Advaita Acharya jumped for Lord Chaitanya's feet, but Lord Chaitanya held him off, pushed him down, and grabbed his feet because he's stronger. And then they both laughed and they embraced. But Advaita was more determined. So there was a kirtan later, and this time he tried to get Lord Chaitanya's feet, and Lord Chaitanya said that this is not proper. You should not do this. And he said, then Advaita said, any carpenter, any grain miller, any gardener can get your mercy, but this one person named Advaita Acharya, he cannot have, or Srivas, he cannot have. You will not give it to us. So if that's what you want, then that's up to you. And Lord Chaitanya stood up and he looked around and he ran out the door and jumped into the Ganga. And Haridas and Nityananda ran after him and they pulled him out of the water. And he said, just let me give up my body. My devotional service is incomplete. I said, no, my Lord, no, please. And he said, no, Advaita has condemned me, and therefore I cannot go back. I'm going to the house of Nandanacharya, and I will stay there. If you don't tell anyone where I am, if you do, you will never see me again. So went back, and where's Lord Chaitanya? We don't know. Everyone was in anxiety. Lord Chaitanya went to Nandanacharya's house, and after spent all night hearing and speaking and chanting about Krishna. And then the next day, he told Nandanacharya, go find Srivas. And Srivas, he said, Srivas, how is Advaita? Shiva said, oh, my Lord, you don't want to know. He said, he would have given up his body. He's fasting, he's barely breathing. Only because you are present, he has maintained his body. And then he said, take me to him. So Lord Chaitanya went, and Advaita was sitting there like this, with his head down. Lord Chaitanya came in and said, Advaita, I'm here. You can look up now. He said, my Lord, I have offended you. I am the greatest of offenders. So Lord Chaitanya said, any then he said, the minister pays the guards on behalf of the king. But if the minister misbehaves, the same guards that are being that are being paid by the minister will arrest him. And if the king says, they will kill him. And so he said, because even though someone may be very elevated, if the king wants, they should be punished. So therefore, don't feel bad that I punished you. And he said, in any case, whatever you want, you should understand that I am your servant. Rachel said, no, my Lord, if you want, then let me be your servant. You said you're chastising me, so chastise me. I want to be your servant. And Lord Chaitanya changed his mood. Then he got into the mood of devotee. And he said, no, you are my eternal master. Mm-hmm. So Advaita said, there's only one way that I can make Lord Chaitanya chastise. I will preach Mayavad philosophy. So he began to preach Mayavad philosophy. All different yoga exercises, and he even told his students that why should you worship Krishna? You never know if he's telling the truth or not. But if you worship Brahman, you will get exactly what you deserve. Therefore, everyone should worship Brahman. And Chaitanya, when he heard this, he told Nityananda, let's go teach this Advaita lesson. So they started on their trip, but they ran into a tantric sannyasi. And so that tantric sannyasi, he came out to greet them. And he said, so Lord Chaitanya said, my dear Swami, please give us a blessing. He said, I bless you with a long life, a happy marriage, and much wealth. And Lord Chaitanya said, that sounds like a curse. He said, no. Actually, this is the prescribed process for this age. And he said, just see, Kali Yuga, a young upstart is trying to instruct a very advanced Brahmin like myself. Therefore, I can understand that Kali Yuga has begun. But in any case, please come to my ashram. So they came in, sat down, and there was a lady. She was his companion. And so he said, let me offer you some fruit. And they said, no, let us go. And he turned around and said, a little fruit is okay. So we put some fruit. And he said, now we should have some liquid bliss. And Lord Chaitanya turned to Nityananda and said, what does he mean, liquid bliss? And Nityananda said, I think he means wine. And they both got up and ran and jumped into the Ganga. And Vrindavan Das says that Lord Chaitanya will condemn a Mayavadi, but even a drunkard who claims to be a sannyasi, he will give his mercy, but he will not give his mercy to the Mayavadi. And so they swam down the Ganga all the way to Advaita's house. They got out, and Lord Chaitanya came to the door, and he was pounding on the door, practically breaking down the door. And so Advaita opened the door, blissful. And Lord Chaitanya grabbed him by his chadar like this. He said, what are you doing? What are you doing? He put him down on the ground, and he was on top of him, slapping him like this. And Sita and Malini, they were saying, he's an old man, don't hurt him. No. And Lord Chaitanya was saying, I came, you called me, and I came. I was sleeping peacefully on the ocean of milk, and you brought me into this Kali Yuga, so many difficulties. I just came, and now you are denying my existence. No. And Advaita, so he shook him some more and slapped him, and Advaita was in bliss. Said, now I have become your servant. Now, please bless me. And Lord Chaitanya said, if anyone worships me, but doesn't worship you, they are condemned and will go to hell. And Advaita said, if anyone worships me, but doesn't worship you, then they are condemned to the worst hell. So they began to argue. But then they again braced and began big kirtan to celebrate the fact that Advaita finally got the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, and he chastised. So that's how Advaita actually, before Lord Chaitanya appeared, Advaita came to the house of Jagannath Mishra when Lord Chaitanya was in the womb. Of course, he's never actually in the womb. Krishna and Chaitanya, they stay in the heart, but they expand themselves, their energy into the womb. They don't need to be all tied up in a womb, like ordinary children. So Advaita Acharya came to the house of Jagannath Mishra. Jagannath Mishra opened the door. Advaita just walked in. Jagannath Mishra thought that was a little strange. And Advaita walked up to Sachi Devi and offered obeisances. And then he got up and he started walking around her. Jagannath Mishra said, what's going on? He went around 9 times. Then he stopped in front of her and he took sandalwood paste and he put it on her stomach, her womb. And Jagannath Mishra, and then he offered obeisances again, started walking out. And Jagannath Mishra said, what does this mean? And he said, Advaita Acharya said, very soon you will find out. And he left. Jagannath Mishra scratching his head. Couldn't understand. But then, all of a sudden, Sachi Devi said, I'm starting to see celestial beings flying around in the sky. And Jagannath Mishra said, I also am seeing that. And they were actually offering prayers to Lord Chaitanya at the womb, but they were partially visible. And then they kept feeling more and more bliss every day, every more bliss, and all inauspiciousness was disappearing all over Navadvip. And then finally, Lord Chaitanya appeared. And of course, we know he appeared on the full moon day. But the moon was feeling embarrassed that here is Pura Chandra. I'm just Chandra. And here is this beautiful golden moon of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What am I doing? So Rahu came and covered. Because of that eclipse, everyone came to the Ganga. Even the Muslims, although they didn't believe it, but they also believed that eclipses are not auspicious, so they came. And all the Vaishnavas were chanting the holy name. They couldn't stop. They couldn't understand why they couldn't stop. And then the Muslims, they started making fun of them. Just see how they're chanting Hare Krishna, Hare. They started chanting, and they also couldn't stop. And so Lord Chaitanya made his appearance and empowered the holy name. Otherwise, the holy name is Krishna himself, but Lord Chaitanya invested within the holy name a special mercy that was not there previously. Previously, you had to get the holy name from someone, who would explain it and make sure you were pure enough to chant. But now the holy name was offered its mercy to everyone, just without limits, by Lord Chaitanya's empowerment of his Shakti, special Shakti that he invested in the holy name. And then he appeared, but what did he do? He just cried. Just like everybody, when you come out of the womb, you cry. But nobody could, there was no offering of milk, nothing would help make him stop. But then he stopped when anyone would chant Hare Krishna. So basically, he had, just like we have 24-hour kirtan, Lord Chaitanya had 24-hour kirtan. That's why we do 24-hour kirtan, to remember how Lord Chaitanya began the 24-hour kirtan. Because there had to be someone chanting, otherwise he would cry. So there was always somebody chanting all day long and all night long. And then one day, Lord Chaitanya he hadn't even started walking yet. So, but he decided to walk, and he walked through the house, and his ankle bells were tinkling. And Jagannath Mishra thought he heard some ankle bells tinkling. So Lord Chaitanya went into his room, and he came out, and he looked on the floor, and he couldn't believe what he saw. He saw the footprints of Krishna. He went and called Mother Sachi. Said, look, just see these footprints. And they followed them right up to the altar. And so it's this round one. And so then he said, just see, our deity is walking around. We are delivered. We are delivered in this lifetime. Our deity is walking around. They thought it was the deity. Actually, it was Lord Chaitanya. But somehow or another, both when Krishna appeared and when he appeared as Lord Chaitanya, they would see his feet, but they couldn't see the marks on his feet. And then, I'm going to conclude with this. Then came the time for his horoscope. And this is what happened in his horoscope. So, of course, the father of Sachi Devi was Nilambar Chakravarti. So Nilambar Chakravarti started to do his here, father of Sachi Devi, the great Brahmin, Nilambar Chakravarti, noted wonderful planetary arrangements in each house of the child's horoscope. In each house, there were signs that indicated a king. Moreover, Chakravarti was astonished by the child's beauty and said, there is a prediction that in the future, a Brahmin will become the king of Bengal. The future will show whether this child is that personality. Then that great astrologer Brahmin began to speak before everyone present about the symptoms of various houses in the child's horoscope. The qualities I see in this child's horoscope are beyond those of a king. In fact, they are beyond all description. This child will become more learned than Brihaspati. He will soon manifest a reservoir of good quality. And then in that assembly, one great Brahmin devotee began to describe, otherwise he did the rest of the horoscope. He said, this child is non-different from Narayan. He will establish religious principles. He will preach wonderfully and thus deliver the world. People will receive from him love of God that is desired even by Brahma, Shiva, and Shukadev. Just by seeing him, the people of this world will develop love for him, compassion for other living entities, and detachment from material enjoyment. What to speak of others? Even Yavanas who are adverse to Vishnu will worship the lotus feet of this child. His glories will be sung in innumerable universes, and everyone, including Brahmins, will offer respects to this child. He is the personification of religious principles and the benefactor of the demigods, the Brahmins, the spiritual masters, his father and mother, and the sober devotees. Just as Lord Vishnu incarnates and induces people to follow religious principles, this child will perform similar activities. Who has the power to explain the auspicious symptoms that are found in the houses of this child's horoscope? Oh, Jagannath Mishra, you indeed are glorious and fortunate. Because this child is your son, I offer obeisances to you. I am also fortunate to have the privilege of calculating his horoscope. This child's name will be Sri Vishvambar. Now, there was one thing he didn't say. He saw that he would take sannyas, but he didn't tell Jagannath Mishra. Because if he would have told him, he would have. Even when he found out, he had a dream. Jagannath Mishra had a dream that Lord Chaitanya would take sannyas. And he immediately called his wife and he said, he's going to take sannyas. He said, we have to take him out of school. Why? He's a Brahmin. He has to, no. He has to come out of school. And then Mother Chachi said, how will he maintain himself? Jagannath Mishra said, how does a cobbler maintain himself? It's very easy to maintain yourself in this world. Any cobbler, any gardener can do it. He said, but he's a Brahmin. He has to study. No. And so he took him out of school. And all the Brahmins came and said, why have you done this? This boy is brilliant. He's the most brilliant child. Why have you taken him out of school? And so then everybody complained. So finally, Jagannath Mishra put him back in school. But he always had this thing in his head. He's going to take sannyas. And when he took sannyas, Jagannath Mishra was overwhelmed with, devastated, with grief and lamentation. He stopped eating for 3 months, and then he left his body, just as Dasara. did when Lord Ramachandra left. So this was uh, his appearance. And of course, he didn't say about taking sannyas. And actually, that Brahman is stated by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that he was a very special Brahman, a incarnation of Bhrigu Muni, because Bhrigu Muni was the one who was sent to discover who is superior, Brahma, Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva, or Vishnu, and he concluded Vishnu. So now he came to establish the position of the Supreme Personality of God. So anyway, these are some pastimes of his birth. There's many, many wonderful things we can say about Lord Chaitanya. And but now we can get ready for the kirtan. What time is it now? 7:15. 7:15. Okay.
7:15.
You were looking up a song, I think.
2 leaves is fine.
Were you looking up a song to sing?
Well,
Tulsi
we're gonna
leaves.
do Arti, we're gonna do, for
Just
Yes,
1 or
yes.
2 is fine.
I thought you were looking at something.
It's just refreshing.
Oh, okay. Refreshing. Refreshing by the moon rays of Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah, she's still cutting.
Okay. And after the take away the offering, we'll do the artik, then Pushpanjali. And then, as Srila Prabhupada said, we chanted, we heard, and so now we just have to dance and we can take Prasad. Formula is complete by Lord Chaitanya's mercy. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Avirbhava Mahotsava ki jai. Shri Gaura Purnima ki jai. Jai Gaura Premanandi.
Hari Hari Bol.